Touching Tornadoes, Conrad. And how are you, buddy? So today is the 26th of September. Do you remember the 26th of September? I'm leaving my therapist's office and I'm driving on US 54 to the east, headed to my shop or a shop, my mom's shop, brother's shop, whoever's shop, to get my truck and trailer and mowers and go cut some grass today. So that's the plan. But the therapist's office was fine. It was, I didn't do therapy today. I had to do brain mapping. So they mapped my brain. And so what they did was they hooked me up to like 20, well, they put a cap on me that was plugged into a computer, like a stocking cap kind of thing, a skull cap. And the cap had a bunch of metal rings on it, and then you fill each of those metal rings up with like electrode gel, just a electricity conductor, and it so you don't have to like cut your hair or anything to stick anything to your head. The gel just uses, basically it turns your hair into wires. You know what I mean? Like from your skull, you get this gel touching it, and then your hair's coming up, and the cap's pushing down on the metal, and boom, you got electricity going there. So they got about 20 of those little boogers uh, on my head, and then before I did that, I had to fill out this whole questionnaire about basically like everything, like how you. I don't even know how to give you an example. Um, You're like, have you ever felt this way? Have you ever? When and how often? And then you rank it like 1 to 5. So it's kind of, mm, it was like not tricky, but 5 different pages of asking you the same thing. And then when you get through the fifth page of asking it, it's like, I hope I filled it out correctly. And then they hooked my head up with the electrodes, and basically the first part of the brain mapping test with the electrodes after the questionnaire was done is I sat there, and for 5 minutes I had to stare at a blank screen, a black screen, and it monitors your brain waves as you're doing this. And it told me, you want to even try to not blink, try not to do anything as this is happening. And so I felt like I did pretty well, like on that for 5 minutes. And then the next part of the test was the same thing, only you close your eyes. And so I closed my eyes, and you had to sit there for 5 minutes. And it tries to tell you, like, you can't move around because your cap is hooked up to the computer. And so I was, that was harder to have my eyes closed for 5 minutes. And the doctor is sitting, was, at least in my case, was sitting behind me at his desk. So he's shuffling papers and clicking on the keyboard, and you're just in this strange place wearing this weird skull cap that's hooked to a computer, and you're keeping your eyes shut for 5 minutes. So I did well on that one, aside from I got to some point in it when I was like, because I want to move around. I like to move around and stuff, and so it's hard to sit still with my eyes closed. I didn't realize how hard, but it was hard. And so I just worked on some breathing thing, like some box breathing. In for 4, hold it for 4, out for 4, stop for 4. And I really have to think about it to do that, and I don't do it enough at all. I mean, but sitting there, that's what I thought of doing. So that helped me. And then I did open my eyes when I clicked my feet too far forward and hit the desk, and it made a noise, and I was like, great, failed this test. So the next part of the brain mapping that they did on me, I'm still sitting at the computer, So I did the stare at the black screen for 5 minutes, and then I did shut your eyes for 5 minutes as they monitor the brain waves, or your brain waves are being monitored. And then they got me to, um, I think the next procedure or test was they showed me a big circle, a checkerboard, a small circle, and like a sound. They had a sound play. And hey, thank you guys for watching. I don't stay up too much on here because I am driving, but for those of you who are tuning in this to get some information on bipolar, I appreciate it. Or just tuning in to see my big stupid head talk. Thank you. Um, so basically, it told me to click on the large circle and don't click on anything else you see. And so for about 8 minutes, it kept repeating checkerboard, small circles, weird sound, large circle, and I'd have to click on the large circle, and it would just, the pattern would change as far as what pops up on the computer screen, and you're just supposed to remember to always click on the large circle, at least in mine. And then the final test that we did was audio. Like, it played a high pitched tone, and that's the one you click on, and then it played a low pitched tone. But the problem was you weren't supposed to click on the low pitched tone, which is good because I couldn't hear it anyways, and I didn't tell them that, but I just clicked on the high pitch, and that was for, I think, for 8 minutes, and you had to do it with your eyes shut, and it was really difficult to keep my eyes. I didn't keep my eyes shut the whole time. I'd open them a little bit and have to kind of reorient myself to where I was at because it got so hard just listening for this sound. So that was the last part of the test. All told, the test took me like an hour and 38 minutes, an hour and 40 minutes. Um, so it took a while, and I don't know. There's no, and I tried to ask him. I was like, I don't know what information is the information that this test provides going to give the doctor something to know, like a different medication I can take, or a way that you know, is it going to open up an opportunity for a new way of thinking or doing therapy with me because they know how my brain works better, and I know that's the goal, but I didn't really need a piece of paper to tell me that my brain is working, but you know what I mean. I just don't know what it's going to spit out. It seems that's not my job to know, but that's just the way that I am anyways. I apologize for the rough road here. They're working on it, if that helps you any. It's a little bouncy, but they're working on it. So anyways, the biggest thing that I've been struggling with today, and not that every show is going to be about my struggles with things, but today in particular, I've been dealing with, because in my last manic episode, it's like sometimes reality will get mixed with the mania. Not sometimes, it always does, but let me put it this way, that there's some people that just got a manic version of me, and that part, it's like I went and apologized and said, hey, I was not myself, depending on what had happened and the conversation I'd had, and whether it warranted anything like that. Or sometimes it was people I didn't even really know. But, and some of them I haven't really got to talk to yet about what I was going through. But I keep having the flashbacks of just, like I have this flashback where I know I went to my dad's and I was already mad at him. He was part of the trigger that caused the explosion, but my deluded brain, like in mania, put together a scenario where he had planned, like, him doing what he did to me was all part of the plan for me to be better, like a better person. And so here's the thing. I'm sorry that he had to see me manic because, I was like crazy at that time because he's like ex-military, and I turned it into this ex-military thing where he was like training me to be a universal soldier, and that's why he was mean to me, or said and did things that he did to me, which aren't all bad, but they're not all good. And but either way, I went over there when I was in my full mania and like just wanted to, because what I do normally is like push some sort of physical exertion to, I guess, combat it in some way. I just went over to his house and I'll like jump rope in the driveway, but I won't use a jump rope. I'll use like a chain, you know? So it's pretty embarrassing to be jumping rope in, a nice cul-de-sac with no shoes on with a chain. But I did that, and left a little memorial of like his military crap, and trying to clean out his garage and all this stuff. But that part I did. Broke his weed eater though, but he didn't like his weed eater. It just sucks because it's like the part that's real is I was actually really, and I still am. I'm mad at him, but he's mixed this whole thing up thinking like, oh, Conrad was never mad at me. He was just manic. And it's like, no, dude, I was mad. I just didn't mean to push it that far. And so he's not in a place where he can even hear that apology yet. So that's one that eats at me. That's a flashback that I keep having today. That one is like jumping rope with a chain was sucky. But luckily, that only happened once. Mm. So, anyways, before that, though, I did brain mapping. I talked about brain mapping on today's show. If you want to go back and listen, I'm going to get out of here. I've been doing them about 12 to 15 minutes just to get some thoughts out. It helps me. So, thank you guys for listening. And if you want to listen to longer versions where I kind of lay out, I have full episodes where I'm sitting in the studio, kind of. And I have lots of episodes of a comedy show I was doing for 15 years that you guys are more than welcome to go find, called The Connie G Show, or The Conrad and Jack Show, or The OK Taco Show. Those are all out there, and you get to hear me go crazy. You get to hear and see my mania if you listen to those shows. I had pretty much an example of it in all of them. So that's embarrassing too, and that's a flashback I don't particularly want to have. But I not wanting something and having something are two different things. So thank y'all, and be good to yourself. Don't let your meat loaf. Have an okay day. Top fans, thank you. I might have clicked on you. I'm sorry.